Hi, I'm Kania-Gosche, and I am an Assistant Dean in the School of Education at Lindenwood University. And today I'm talking to you about the Missouri Preservice Teacher Assessment, also known as MOPTA or MOPETA, depending who you talk to. Here's the website, mega.ets.org. I just want to make very clear that all of the materials for MOPTA, the prompts, the artifacts, the due dates, the submission system, this is all ETS materials. It's not Lindenwood or any other university. This is from ETS, and it's a state requirement for certification beginning for those student teaching in fall of 2015. If you're student teaching before that, in spring of 15 perhaps, your university may be piloting this internally, which I know we're doing here at Lindenwood, and many other universities are as well. But starting in the fall of 15 and later, you will have to pay to take this assessment. I believe it's around $275, and it will be assessed by outside scorers for tasks 2, 3, and 4. Task 1 will be scored by your student teaching supervisor. It's a formative assessment. The other 3 tasks will be externally scored by ETS trained graders, not by people from your university. Now I know this is very different probably from what most universities were doing during student teaching. We were doing a portfolio, but now we have moved that portfolio into our courses and to make room for MOPTA, because this is a large task for you to do. There's lots of requirements. The most important thing for you to do is follow directions. That sounds very basic, but remember, these deadlines are not set by your university. They are set by ETS. So every teacher candidate in the entire state of Missouri is going to be trying to meet those same deadlines. So I cannot emphasize enough working ahead and not waiting until the last minute to get these things done. Now, let's talk about for a little bit just what is MOPTA. It is a performance assessment, which means you're going to be creating artifacts for each of these tasks. There are 4 tasks, as you can see here. Each one is a different topic, and each one has different requirements. You can see the requirements, and you can click and look through them. And there is a rubric here. There's also specific artifacts that you will upload for each one, and these artifacts are things that you'll produce during student teaching for the most part, things like lesson plans, assessments, student work samples, and those are not assessed per se the way your written response is, but they must be there. They are necessary evidence for your task to be scored. You'll notice up here is the handbook. I'm going to talk about this in just a few minutes, but I would really recommend you download this. It's about 50 pages, and read it in detail, get your highlighter out, and make sure you understand what it is that you're going to be doing. The more you know about MOPTA before you get into student teaching, the better, because half of it is just understanding the vocabulary and the questions that are being asked and just knowing what you're expected to do. So let's take a minute and we're going to look at task 1, requirements. Just a note, see the date down here? This is the new version of MOPTA that was released August 15th of 2014. If you're at Lindenwood and you're one of our fall 2014 student teachers, you did the old version of MOPTA, not this one, because it was released after student teaching had already begun. So anytime you're looking at MOPTA materials, I would recommend going to the website and downloading it so you know you have the most updated one. Because if you're getting anything from professors, they may unintentionally be giving you the old version. There's not huge differences between the two, but they are not exactly the same. So please make sure you have the most updated version. So each task begins with alignment to the MOSBY standards and quality indicators. Most of the MOSB indicators are covered by MOPTA, but not all. And then at the beginning, it kind of, I'm sure what you're asking yourself, what do I have to do for this task? Well, it explains it. You'll have your written commentary, and what the written commentary consists of there are text boxes with questions. So here's this one. And you have to usually complete one of your artifacts, and then you're going to write about it following these prompts. And so there will be, when the site is live in fall of 15, what I recommend you do is you just have a Word document where you're typing your response. There's probably templates available from your university. And then you can just copy and paste it in here. There will be, a text box, and you just copy and paste your response. And this is just one question out of many. This is the first text box. There are, as you can see, as I scroll down here, many text boxes, and this is actually the shortest task, to be perfectly honest with you. So, oops, I went too far. So you'll be responding to those text boxes and making sure that you're responding to each section of the text box. So not only do you need to have an A, a B, and a C properly labeled to help out the reader, but you need to remember that for A, you need an instructional strategy and a learning activity. For B, you need an instructional strategy and a learning activity. And for C, instructional strategy and a learning activity, as well as a rationale for each one of these. That's pretty complex, but it's required that you answer each piece of this prompt. So you can see why it would be important to know what all of these prompts are before going into student teaching, which is stressful enough. You have a lot to do already. The more familiar you are with this, the better. So you'll have you'll respond to all of these text boxes, but you'll notice you have to complete the artifacts first. So one of the artifacts is the contextual factors chart. So you would have to complete the contextual factors chart before you can even begin to answer these text box responses. Task 1 is really the only task you can begin probably a little bit before student teaching once you know your placement. This contextual factors chart, there's another video that goes into detail about task 1, but this is just kind of an overview. This is, again, one of the artifacts. This is not scored per se. It just has to be there, and it's evidence for what you are saying in your text box responses. But you'll see, so this requires you to find basically some demographic information and to learn about the community, district, school, and classroom where you are placed for student teaching. And again, that's just one artifact for task 1. There are multiple artifacts for each task. Tasks 2, 3, and 4 require you to actually be teaching a lesson or an assessment in your classroom. So you have to be actually in a classroom to be able to do these. Task 4 involves a video, 1 15-minute video or 3 5-minute video clips. And remember, again, those are artifacts. What is scored are your text box responses. However, if you don't have your artifacts or you're missing an artifact, your response will not be scored and you'll have to resubmit. And again, these are ETS deadlines, the resubmission deadlines, those are not ours. And there is a fee, I believe, I don't know if it's been set exactly yet, but I've heard about $85 per task to resubmit. So it's really important that you read the directions and follow the directions and make sure everything that you need is there and that's uploaded. And also just a note here, if you're elementary, which I know many of you are, your task 2, which is the assessment task, needs to be reading as the content focus, and task 3 needs to be math. Only for elementary certification only. If you are K-12 or early childhood or middle school or whatever, if you're not elementary, you can just disregard this. You can pick whatever you would like, as long as you're paying attention to what the requirements are for each task. I would really recommend that you send this link to your cooperating teacher and be talking to your cooperating teacher about what can you do. For example, in task 1, you have to give a student interest inventory. What might be appropriate for your content area and the students you're working with? What's an assessment maybe that your cooperating teacher has used before or is used at that grade level, the building level, something along those lines. This is, I've heard people talk about MOPTA as kind of a mini national boards. Many of the people involved with national boards were also involved in the creation of this. So it's intense, yes, and it's a lot of work, but it will make you a better teacher. The things that are asked of you in these 4 tasks, these are things that are asked of teachers every day. So in task 2 for assessment data, you have to actually show, like give a visual of how your students did on the assessment and then talk about how are you going to use that data to inform your instruction. How many students met the goal? So it's things that teachers do every day. One thing I do want to highlight in this handbook, so oops, let me pull up the handbook here. There's a whole section in here about writing, the writing requirements. Let me find it for you. Somewhere. Oh wait, this is I apologize, that's the task 1 handbook. I want the candidate handbook, which is shorter. Task 1 handbook is quite lengthy. Again, making sure we have the right version. You'll notice here, writing and formatting guidelines. I would encourage you to read all of it, but especially look at that section. I used to be a high school English teacher, and I really like the discussion here about the difference between description, analysis, and reflection. Some prompts require just a description, but most of them are asking not only for a description, but a rationale for you to do some analysis, some reflection. So think about that. Read through this and understand the type of writing that you're going to be doing. This is formal writing. I would encourage you to avoid contractions, avoid slang, avoid even just using the jargon that comes with being in a school building. You know, your score could be from anywhere, really, and they may not know all of these acronyms that we throw around. A caution too, the scoring of this is blind, so the person scoring it does not know your name, what university you're from, and you should be very, very careful not to put any names in anywhere, in any of your artifacts or responses or anything. Not your name, not your cooperating teacher's name, not your school name, not your district name, and certainly, absolutely no student names on those work samples. So please, please, please be cognizant of that. It's very important that you remove any of that information so that there's no privacy being violated. And that's talked about also in the handbook. And one other item is that your supervisor will provide you feedback on task 1 because that is the formative task. That is the only one where you will receive feedback from your university staff. You'll get a score back from ETS once you submit, but I don't know what format that feedback will be. And we are unable to read through your response and edit and provide feedback before you submit to ETS. While your supervisor could help you perhaps thinking of a good lesson for your task 4 or what an appropriate assessment would be for task 3, we cannot read over your responses before you submit. Now, if you're at Lindenwood and you're in my Blackboard community for student teachers, there are some opportunities for you to practice MOPTA before student teaching begins. Just practice writing, get used to the writing style of this and understand what's expected. So you want to really take advantage of that because that's the only opportunity you're going to have to get real detailed feedback on your tasks before you submit. So again, I would encourage you to go to this website, read through all the materials, and I'm going to be working on some other screencasts one for each task so you can have some more specifics about each one. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I look forward to I look forward to you listening to the other